Hey, in this episode, we're going to complete our post-daily dose, focusing on the stress model, and we're going to tie it all together. Good evening, Facebook, and welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Brian+Post. I hope everyone's had a fantastic Saturday. It is cold as all get out here in Oklahoma this fine evening. It's been cold all day, although I think it's supposed to warm up tomorrow. So I just wanted to finish our completed kind of conversations we've done. 1, 2, 3. I think this is number 4, just on the stress model. So if you've missed, and sometimes the titles are a little funny, but it's over the last five post daily dose. I think there was only one we didn't talk about the stress model, maybe 2, but go back, review, look at it, write it down, think about it, interact, research it, pay attention to it, whatever you got to do. This is an opportunity for a big paradigm shift for you. So last night we left off talking about the 2 primary emotions, love and fear. Those are our body's only 2 primary emotions. The stress model says all behavior arises from a state of stress. In between the behaviors and the stress is the presence of a primary emotion. There are only 2 emotions, love and fear. It is through the expression, the processing, and the understanding of the fear that you calm the stress and diminish the behavior. So that is the stress model. I want you to memorize it, right? Because one of these evenings I'm going to pop on here and I'm going to say, whoever can recite the stress model to me on video and send it to me, first person to do that's going to get something outrageous. So I want you to memorize it because it's that important for me and it's that important to you. So it is a breakthrough opportunity. So we got to last night talking about the 2 primary emotions, love and fear, and how fear is the automated one. Hey, Heidi, good afternoon to you. And I bet it's warm in New Zealand. How fear is the automatic one. It's the reaction. It's the unconscious. Love is the conscious. It's the response. And how you have a space and an opportunity to choose love when you are motivated and being driven to go down the path of fear. So once you hit that stress and that fear point, that's what drives behaviors. That's why when I say an acting out child, which is a child manifesting negative behaviors, an acting out child is a stressed out child, is a regressed child. Okay, an acting out child is a stressed out child, is a regressed child. Because when we are in a state of stress, emotionally it causes us to regress because that, remember I talked last night about the amygdala sitting right on top of the brainstem and the brainstem being where all your personality traits are stored. It's also where trauma gets stored. And trauma is like the sediment at the bottom of the cup. It takes a lot of stress. I say a lot, a lot could be just a simple statement. I saw a little video on Facebook I found interesting this morning. I think Christy had posted in the Post+Institute page, and it was how comparing rejection, how rejection, the pain of rejection, the emotional pain of rejection is equivalent to the brain to physical pain. Isn't that interesting? Researchers wanted to measure how rejection is processed in the body, in the brain and body system, and they were able to correlate it to the same, it lit up the same sensors in the brain as pain. And so emotional pain is a very real thing. And so I say that because stress, you could feel rejected. And what's interesting about that is this research study that they did, literally they thought, how can we measure people at the moment they feel rejection? Well, what they did is they put 3 people in an office and one person picks up a ball and throws it to another person. And then that person throws it back to that person and they play catch and then they throw it over to the other person. So then the other person gets involved and then that person throws it over to the other person. And so they're playing this little game of catch and all of a sudden, hey Helen, they stop throwing it and hey Kirsten, they stop throwing it to the third person. And in that moment, that person experiences the emotional pain of rejection. Fascinating. She posted that on the Post+Institute Facebook page. If you get a chance, go back and check it out. It's very interesting. I watched it early this morning. Anyway, I tell you that because any kind of stress, remember, you can experience stress through all 8 of your sensory pathways, and any one of them can trigger something in your state level of memory, which triggers your trauma, the same way as it triggers your personality. And Kathy Prentice is watching me. Hey, Kathy, I was thinking about you. Funny enough, I was just thinking about you today. Early this morning, strange. And so, hi, there you are. Hi. Hope you're doing fantastic. So any little sensory activation can cause you to experience, hey, Deanne, she watched that video, can cause you to experience stress. And so that drives your fear, which then drives your behavior. So when I say, when you become stressed, you regress, it's because that regression is the stirring of the sediment. Oh, finally I get to the point, right? What's the point, Big Papa? The point is, when I say an acting out child is a stressed out child is a regressed child. So it's like I'm almost layering. An acting out child is a stressed child, is a regressed child. So if you think about the stress model, an acting out child is a stressed child, is a regressed child because they're dropping into their brainstem from the experience. That's what I'm telling you. Therefore, that regression, let's just say it just bounces right back up. It shoots off like a rocket, and that's what takes off and creates the behavior challenges. Remember, it doesn't always have to be bad behavior. Even good. Let me give you an example of good stress. Good behavior and good stress going outside of my window of tolerance. I went to a Kevin Hart concert once. All of you know he's been in the news lately for some stuff he said 20 years ago. But I went to a concert, which is, it's a good stress reliever, right? He's funny as all get out. I am laughing, feeling good. I've got oxytocin flooding my body and endorphins. I mean, just laughing. And he tells this joke. It reminded me so much of how I grew up. Oh, I was crying, and then my stomach started to cramp, and I was like, oh my God, if he doesn't stop, I'm going to have to get up and leave. It was hurting I was laughing so hard, and it was hurting that bad. I was like, oh my gosh, that's how a regulated state of stress quickly becomes a state of dysregulation. Just through laughter, even laughter. Just like overeating, it's the same thing. You go from a regulated place to a dysregulated place. So it's a very common thing. Okay, so that's it. I want you to put all those together. You should have that together by now. If you don't, I want to invite you again. Go back, watch the last 4 videos that I've done. They all tie into the stress model. Not the one last night, not the one last night, yes, but not the one before that. But the 2 previous, yes, they all tie into the stress model. Watch them again. I want you to memorize it. I'm going to call on you one of these post-daily dose, and I'm going to say, someone tell me, recite the stress model. It's that important. I want you to commit it to memory, and I want you to start looking for behaviors. And when you see the behavior, I want you to automatically recognize the stress underneath it, and then the fear it's driving it. And I want you to remember that in that moment, your child is doing the best they can. In that moment, they're doing the best they can. They've just gone outside of their window of dysregulation. That's a breakthrough, ladies and gentlemen. That's a whole paradigm shift from anything you've heard in parenting and mental health before. That when a child is acting out, it is because he's gone outside of his window of tolerance for how much stress he can handle. And that window could be a very, very, very small window. Stefan says, what if good stress puts the child so far into hyper that at 1:40 a.m., he still can't fall asleep? Doesn't seem to get out of it anyway. Well, at 1:40 a.m., you guys are in it to win it at that point. It's funny you say that, Stefan, because one of my followers on Instagram is a foster parent, and she posted a little baby, a picture of a little toddler she just took on, and she's like, who doesn't need sleep? And it's like midnight, 12:30. Hey, Lala, midnight 30, and this baby is still like active. Well, at that point, what you're looking at is just a child whose circadian rhythms don't regulate effectively. And so you have to, back to your question, Stefan, is you have to regulate that child's routine in the evening, like really regulate it and really contain it in the evenings so they don't move into that state of dysregulation. So whatever that, and you'll learn that eventually, but when that child, maybe that's a new child to you, I'm not sure, but at 140, you're talking about a child whose circadian rhythms just are not online. I mean, their super chiasmatic nucleus is not working effectively, and therefore they're just going to go until they're exhausted, and you're probably not going to get them sleep until they're exhausted. But with that child, what I would definitely do is go in the room with them, turn off the lights, get a flashlight, and read a book with the flashlight on. Right? So that is pulling in all of the sensory processing and sensory experiencing that child is doing. You go into the bedroom, both of you climb into bed, you get a book, get a flashlight. All the other sensory stimulation disappears, and that's when you can probably come closest to getting that child's system regulated, and do lots of deep breathing in the process of doing that. But with the mom, with the little baby, little toddler, that's going to be something she's going to really have to work and work with that toddler and teach that toddler's regulatory system how to relax at night and not get wound up. And I think I just talked about that. I have a tendency to do so many different little talks. I forget where I'm sharing what information, and I'm probably going to bring it all back together anyway. So, all right, God bless each and every one of you. Remember, in any given situation, you always have two choices. You can ride that wild bull of fear and stress and that same bull and travel that same path and just follow that bad boy into every kind of behavior, misbehavior, and guilt and shame that you can possibly think of. Or you can stop in the gap. You can get in the gap and you can breathe and you can calm yourself down. And you can wrestle that bull by the horns, get that big thing down on the ground, and rope those hooves together, and roped and tied, and you can move over into love, and then everything changes. So God bless each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic night. I hope you rest well. I was in bed, sleep at 8:30 last night. 8:30. I'm such an old man these days. So I hope you all have a fantastic night of rest. I hope you, when you close your eyes tonight, that your body just releases all of the cells and all of the stress that you've been carrying for generations and generations and generations and generations, and you just let it go, and you wake up in the morning and you're restored. You are refreshed, you are revised, you are reinvigorated, renewed, ready for a relaxing Sunday. So good night, everyone. Big Papa loves you, and I'll see you tomorrow.